For generations, the aircraft carrier has been the crown jewel of American naval power, a floating city, a mobile airbase, and a symbol of U.S. resolve. From the Pacific battles of World War II to modern deployments in the Middle East, carriers have been the ultimate tool of presence and projection. But today, the seas are changing. Rivals are building missiles that can travel at hypersonic speeds. Satellites can track ships in real time, and swarms of drones can overwhelm defenses. The question is no longer academic. Are America's aircraft carriers still the future of naval dominance? Or are they relics of a past era? This is the story of the missile defense paradox, and the uncertain future of the U.S. Navy's most iconic weapon. The American carrier legacy. The United States Navy has relied on carriers since World War II. At Midway, carrier-based aircraft turned the tide of the Pacific War. In Korea, Vietnam, and the Gulf Wars, carriers provided air power without the need for foreign bases. During the Cold War, the U.S. built supercarriers like the Nimitz class, massive, nuclear-powered ships capable of launching dozens of aircraft at a time. They became symbols of American reach, able to sail anywhere, anytime. For decades, the Carrier Strike Group was the ultimate expression of U.S. military might. But every empire's weapon eventually meets its challenger. The Carrier Strike Group, America's floating fortress. A U.S. carrier never sails alone. It is the centerpiece of a strike group. Destroyers, cruisers, submarines, and supply ships form a protective shield. This layered defense is designed to counter submarines, aircraft, and missiles. It is a fortress at sea, but it is also a massive footprint. In the era of global surveillance, a 100,000-ton ship is impossible to hide. Rivals know where America's carriers are, and they are building weapons to target them. The missile defense paradox. Here lies the paradox. The more advanced America's defenses become, the more adversaries innovate to defeat them. China has developed the DF-21D and DF-26, so-called carrier killer missiles, designed to strike moving ships from over 1,000 miles away. Russia has tested the Zircon hypersonic missile, traveling at speeds up to Mach. U.S. defenses like the Aegis system and CRAM are powerful, but they face a numbers problem. A single carrier might stop a handful of missiles, but what about dozens or hundreds? The missile defense paradox is simple. Every shield invites a sharper sword, and the sharper the sword, the more vulnerable the shield becomes. How carriers are targeted? In the past, carriers relied on mobility and secrecy. Today, satellites, drones, and over-the-horizon radar can track them in real time. The process is called the kill chain. Detect, track, target, engage. Break one link and the strike fails. But if the chain holds, a carrier becomes a billion-dollar target waiting. For the U.S., this is a strategic nightmare. The loss of even one carrier would not just be a military blow. It would be a political and psychological shock felt around the world. Vulnerability analysis. Let's test the carrier against 3 scenarios. Scenario 1. Near-peer conflict. In the South China Sea, Chinese missiles and submarines force U.S. carriers to operate from extreme distances. The farther they stay back, the less effective their aircraft become. Scenario 2. Denial campaign. Instead of sinking the carrier, adversaries attack its satellites, communications, and supply lines. The carrier remains afloat, but blind, deaf, and isolated. Scenario 3. Saturation swarm. Hundreds of cheap drones and missiles overwhelm defenses. Even one hit could cripple a $13 billion ship and risk thousands of American lives. The conclusion is clear. Carriers are powerful, but they are not invulnerable. Costs and politics. A single Gerald R. Ford-class carrier costs over $13 billion to build. Operating it costs billions more each year. It carries more than 5,000 sailors. For the U.S., carriers are not just weapons. They are political tools. Their presence reassures allies, deters adversaries, and projects American influence. Retiring them would reshape not just the Navy, but U.S. foreign policy itself. Adaptations and the future. The Navy is adapting. Distributed lethality spreads firepower across smaller, harder-to-target ships. Drone carriers and unmanned surface vessels are entering the fleet. Directed energy weapons promise cheaper, faster defense against swarms. The carrier of the future may not be a massive floating airbase. It may be smaller, stealthier, and focused on launching drones rather than manned jets. The U.S. Navy is not abandoning carriers, but it is reimagining them. Global perspectives. America is not alone in this debate. China is building carriers to dominate its region. India's INS Vikrant signals ambition. Britain's Queen Elizabeth-class projects influence abroad. But only the United States operates carriers on a truly global scale. For America, the stakes are higher because the carrier is not just a ship. It is the backbone of U.S. power projection. So are aircraft carriers obsolete? Not yet, but their role is changing. In high-intensity war, they face unprecedented threats, yet in diplomacy, deterrence, and humanitarian aid, they remain unmatched. The carrier is not dead, it is being redefined. Its survival depends on adaptation, in technology, in doctrine, and in imagination. For the United States, the future of the carrier is not just about ships. It is about whether America can continue to oceans in the 21st century dock.